Oh my goodness gracious. Sunday night is here. We're absolutely live, but gotta let it breathe for a minute here. Bring on Facebook and Instagram. You guys know the drill by now, right? Just takes a moment. Hang tight. Hang tight as all my notifications start sounding off. Welcome in, everybody. It is the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, as you can see, is not Zach Kelberman. He's not back quite yet. So I would expect tomorrow. But we got plenty to talk about. I mean, nothing in terms of like lots of news or anything, but some interesting topics nevertheless. Let's go through some hellos. First comment in the chat is Pro16 saying no thank you on Alvin Kamara. We'll talk about that. David Yunker, what's up, buddy? Papa Bear jumping in with an early super. Thank you, pal. Saying good evening, Broncos country. Hashtag 13 and 4 plus plus plus. No to Alvin Kamara. People are probably like, what are we talking about here? Papa Bear, hope you're still trending in the right direction, my brother. Great to see you tonight. And before I get to the great ladies of MHH, I guess maybe I better just kind of get to the bottom line here and talk about this Kamara thing. So, first things first, guys, let's be clear. This is not news. This is not a report of the Broncos being interested. This is not a report of uh, the Saints looking to trade him. So let's keep that straight. This is a national NFL writer at CBS Sports. His name is Cody Benjamin, I think it was. Yeah, Cody Benjamin, saying, hey, here are some, pardon me, frog in my throat. Here's some trade fodder that I could see happening or that makes sense to me. But what's interesting about it is, yet again, it's like people are missing the forest for the trees here. So let me get to it. Here's the bottom line. Here's what he wrote, okay? And here's why I decided to title the podcast around it. He said, quote, blow it up a little bit for you guys. Kamara may be a Saints mainstay, but he's approaching 30 with an annual injury history, and New Orleans isn't necessarily geared to compete for meaningful wins in 2025 with a rookie coach and quarterback in Kellen Moore and Tyler Shuck, respectively. The Broncos, meanwhile, could still use additional big play weapons for Bo Nix, and their coach, Sean Payton, was responsible for drafting and unleashing Kamara during his time with the Saints. So, what if Denver signed J.K. Dobbins and drafted R.J. Harvey? Payton wants depth to win on the ground, and besides, Kamara's best attribute is collecting passes out of the backfield. He could be Nix's top safety valve. Close quote. So that's all it is. But why? Why? I'm glad he at least had enough comprehensive care to mention the fact that the Broncos have already invested quite heavily this offseason in the position. We'll circle back to it. Lady D, thank you so much. Great to see you. How are you? From the tippity top rope, jumping in with a super chat. Thank you so much, Deanna. Seriously, means the world. You know this. She says, good evening, Chad, Zach, and Scott. No, Zach. Scott's back, though. Hello, Broncos country. My opinion is we don't need Kamara. But if we can get him cheap, I think they will go after him. I would rather secure Allen and Benito. Super excited for the season. Hashtag MHH for life. Thank you. Well, seriously, Lady D, I can't tell you how much that helps, especially this time of year, baby. It's some dry times. But let's talk a little bit about the cost. I mean, this dude, it kind of made sense. Kamara, if he could be had, kind of made sense on the doorstep of the 2024 season when the Broncos had nothing at running back. And you're trying, and then you get going into the season and you really see you got nothing, right? You're, ugh. And dude, if I either wrote or copy edited one Kamara to the Broncos trade rumor story at the early portion of last season, I probably did 10. There's one after another. But the Saints, even though they would go on to clean house with the coaching regime, they not only opted not to move him at the trade deadline, but they extended him. So he's making $18.5 million. Pass. I don't think you need him. Now, if you didn't invest in RJ Harvey and you didn't throw a few bucks at J.K. Dobbins, it might make a bit more sense depending on how you can finagle the roster or the salary cap math. But I just don't think you really need him. Could you use him? Well, of course. He is a stud, but he's getting older, guys. I mean, that's the other thing about Kamara. Just to be precise here, Alvin Kamara is about to turn 30 in the month of July. So basically, as training camp is opening, he turns 30. Everybody's different, but 30 running backs, there's a reason why NFL teams typically avoid it. That's part of what made it kind of a surprise that they extended him at the level that they did last year. But that's what we're talking about. That's why Kamara, like, why? That's why I kind of Broncos. Here's my headline for the stream: Broncos are being linked to Kamara again. Why? Why? Duchess in the house. Love you, Michaela. So good to see you. The ladies of MHH leading the way. So cool. Michaela says, frankly, I'm tired of Alvin Kamara rumors. We don't want him or need him. It's all a bunch of hogwash. Love you all. Hashtag Broncos for life. Yeah, I agree. You don't need him. Could you use him? Yeah, but then you get back into the weeds of like at what cost and all that stuff. I mean, honestly, the Broncos have some decent talent now on offense. Like, I thought they had better talent than they were being given credit for this time last year when, the PFFs and the whatevers, right? They're ranking them skill positions, bottom of the league and all that stuff. So as Bo Nix goes, so goes the rest of the team. And we saw last year how, as the quarterback, rookie though he was, once he kind of got his NFL legs beneath him, his sea legs, so to speak, beginning in October, man, all of a sudden that cliche, that NFL cliche, and what cliches are cliches because they're true, sometimes inconveniently so, but that cliche came to mind. All of a sudden, you're seeing Devon Vele make plays. You're seeing Sutton back up over 1,000 yards. You're seeing Marvin Mims become a bona fide weapon to be feared down the stretch. A franchise quarterback is the tide that raises all ships. We say it gets old, it's whatever, but it's true. It's nevertheless true. It's true. And Bo Nix elevated guys last year. Now, we're not getting out over our skis pretending like suddenly, thanks to Bo Nix, everybody's an all-pro, but the Broncos are no longer lacking for talent. Evan Ingram brought in at tight end. You're going to bank a little bit, if you're these Broncos, on the further development of the Veles, the Franklins, the Mims. And then running back, you didn't rest on your laurels. You say, hey, adios, Javonte. We still think you might be able to improve further from your injury. You're not quite back to the same guy you were, but we think you can. Nevertheless, we don't want to wait. Adios. RJ Harvey, most explosive running back arguably in this draft. 4.4 speed. He was, I think, the third fastest running back at the combine, if memory serves. And he trailed only Ashton Genty in the FBS last year in explosive runs. And what's an explosive run? Any carry over 10 yards. Only Ashton Genty had more than RJ Harvey at UCF. And then you throw in his runs of 15 plus. I mean, the dude's explosive. He brings the vision. He brings the wiggle. He's fast. And he's got some of those same traits that Cody Benjamin of CBS Sports is saying could be made, could be useful to Bo Nix. The receiving stuff, not as developed yet with RJ Harvey because the Broncos saw the tools, but it wasn't really utilized that much as a passer, as a receiver, that is, in the UCF passing game. So I just don't see the need for him. Could you use him? Sure, of course, so long as he's still got some juice, baby. Who couldn't use Kamara? Do you need him? That's a different story. Taylor, brother, what is up? Thank you for the super chat, big dog. He says, whatever rumor it is, Kamara makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, especially with the JK signing. And we would have to take on that ridiculous contract. Exactly. $18.5 million. You want to know something interesting about, I don't know why this struck me. Now, keep in mind, guys, this late in the offseason, guys like me that are responsible either through myself or through the writers who work for me of having, 4, 5, 6 articles a day, even this time of year, per day, coming out at the website. I was just kind of perusing a few of the press releases, and I'm kind of looking at the J.K. Dobbins press release, and it kind of jumped out at me 2 stats. I'm like, whoa, I don't think I actually realized that when I got the press release. I'm realizing then, yesterday, as I'm reading this, I'm like, Dadgum, I actually didn't read this press release, which I don't always read them because by the time I often get the press releases from the Broncos, the news is no longer breaking. We already know the score. We're already reporting on it. But anyway, check this out real quick. This is interesting. You'll get a kick out of this. And it did it again, Scott. That's what it did last time. So what do you think it is? Do you think it's
I was just about to hop in. Maybe I should be here just in case.
Well, yeah. Or if it does it again, I'll just go back to Firefox work. But it must be a Chrome thing then, dude.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, you guys remember this guy?
I just wanted to say, hey, this is me. I haven't shaved or anything, and
he's been on vacation.
This is vacation, hardly. So,
no,
hello,
good,
everybody.
Dude.
Thanks to all y'all for contributing. And I was about to come in and say, no, I'll keep it warm. Real quick though, was I was typing in when talking about the ridiculous contract.
Yeah,
it's kind of a misnomer on this. Most of the contracts when you start talking about the ridiculous contract, goes to the team that signed him to that contract. So Alvin Kamara's base salary is $2.9 million, and even that's negotiable. So if you make a trade for somebody, you negotiate how much of that contract you actually want to take on. Now, the Saints extended him is because they are historically so bad that they have to keep pushing their salaries or high salaried veterans farther and farther down the line.
Yeah,
so that was a salary cap move to extend him. They're basically on the hook for one more year. Now they got unbelievably lucky when Carr decided to retire and knock about $50 million off of their future cap. So they're in a much, much better position on that. But you wouldn't owe him a ton of money if you trade for him. All that's negotiable. So, you might say, yeah, we'll pick up his $3 million and we wouldn't have anything. We wouldn't owe him anything next year if we decided we wanted to waive him. On that
note, if we could. Thanks,
go
bro.
get it.
Thanks, bro. And hey, just be ready. If it happens again, I will open up Firefox again, and then you just hold it down for me. It'll be like 15 seconds. Worst case. But that, true. That's a good point, Scott. And if you could get a Kamara for a couple, $2-3 million in terms of salary, even at 30 years old, knowing the history that he has with Sean Payton becomes a little bit more interesting. But what would it take to get him? Do you want to get back into the giving up draft capital thing when you've got RJ Harvey, J.K. Dobbins, which brings me back to what I was saying. So I'm going through this press release. All right. And this jumped out to me. I'm like, I can't believe I didn't recognize this. Since entering the league in 2020, Dobbins has a 5.2 yards per carry average, all right, for his career. That is the second highest among all running backs in the NFL since 2020 who have at least 425 rush attempts. His big play percentage, so that's again the 10-plus yards thing, is the third highest among all running backs. That's kind of cool, and the bugaboo once again with J.K. Dobbins is, Ronk, what's up, bro? So good to see you tonight, big dog. Is the injury concern, right? It's until he kind of plays through it and lives past it, it's going to be something that follows us around. So we'll see. But how about that? Only one running back since J.K. Dobbins has entered the league. Only one running back has a higher yards per carry than him. Isn't that kind of cool? Ralph, what is up, my dog? Great to see you. So did you see the court hearing last week where the Penners notes were released questioning Payton on extending Russ with 2 years left on his contract? Yeah, oh yeah, bro. Jeez, buddy. Yeah, we talked about that last week. In case Ralph and anybody else that might have missed it, great to see you, bro, by the way. Here's the Cliff Notes version, is that the NFLPA was suing the owners for purportedly being accusing them of colluding to keep down, suppress, that is, quarterback guarantees the year Russ got his extension, which was 2022 from the Broncos. And there's quite a few things that came out because the Penners were involved. It was the Broncos, the Ravens with Lamar, the Cardinals with Kyler Murray. I think those are the three teams involved or being accused of colluding, but it was all in reference to, the unprecedented Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed contract that the Browns gave him. So Russell Wilson was trying to use that as a new benchmark and asked for a 7-year, fully guaranteed, $350 million extension. And according to Wilson under oath, Broncos initially made him believe that, yeah, they didn't blink, he said, and kind of led him on. And then about 10 days later, all of a sudden got cold feet and stopped being remotely open to the idea. Howie, what's up, dude? Great to see you. Thank you for the stars, big dog. Appreciate you. And ultimately, they heard back from George Payton saying it's a non-starter, this fully guaranteed thing. And we all know what he ended up signing. 5 years, $245 million, half of it, let's just say guaranteed. And what Ralph is getting at is part of the discovery and stuff is the notes. Greg Penner, as the owner of the Broncos, he sat in on a bunch of these meetings with the front office, his front office, George Payton and those guys, to hash out the idea of an extension and all this stuff. And he notated and he submitted those notes to the court for this case. And by the way, the arbiter, found that there was not enough evidence to say that the NFL, these owners colluded. But I digress. In those notes, in one of the meetings, this is long before Russ was actually extended, he notated 2 years left on contract. Why not wait? ? And, ended up being semi-prescient because when the Broncos signed him, he still had 2 years left on his contract from the Seahawks. So when they actually cut him, the Broncos, when they released him, all that money they paid him, dude, he hadn't played a nickel on it yet. So that's the frustrating thing. But yeah, Phil, good evening, Chad. Deacon Scott, great to see Scott. Kamara at low cost is fine, but it definitely will shake up the room. Buckham, MHI, H for life, Broncos for life. Yeah, it would definitely shake things up. I'm a little nervous here. I don't know what the heck is going on with my Chrome, but like the things I normally like to do and go off and like open tabs and do scratch and sniff. Y'all know what I mean by scratch and sniff when I'm sharing the screen and stuff. I'm going to pause on that kind of stuff for now. But, Kamara, you got to keep in mind, last year was one of his highest workloads as a rusher since he entered the league. His career high in rushes was 2021. He had 240 carries. That gave him about 900 yards and 4 touchdowns. Last season in 14 games, he had 228 carries, 950 yards though, and 6 touchdowns. So his average was actually much better. Much better. His rushing average has diminished a lot since 2020, by the way. So this was the first time since his 2020 season. Last season was his first that his average was well over 4. So for what it's worth, something to monitor, and he hasn't made the Pro Bowl since 2020. All right. But yeah, dude, it'll be interesting to see. Look, dude, one thing to also qualify. Scott, you tell me if you've heard anything, but I have not heard any actual rumors or reports that the Saints are looking to trade him. And if you're Kellen Moore and you're rebuilding with a rookie quarterback, Derek Carr's gone, you want to give that quarterback. And by the way, Scott and I watched that kid, Shuck, at the Senior Bowl. He was legit. Was he like blowing your mind? No, but he was probably the best quarterback at the Senior Bowl. I mean, Milroe is obviously the most talented athlete amongst those quarterbacks, but just raw. Nevertheless, Shuck, if you're the Saints, you want to give him some tools around him to help him succeed with this new offensive, wunder kid, young head coach. I think it would be a mistake if you're the Saints to trade Kamara anyway. He's going to be needed. Scott says the Saints would have to take a ton of dead cap, but I think they're in full tank mode. Might as well eat the money and get a pick if they can. So if that's true, and they don't have one eye on trying to compete in the short term, then it could be a possibility. But I haven't seen any actual legit rumors or reports that the Saints are shopping him, is what I'm getting at. So we shall see, guys. String Guy, I'm really excited to see just how good Harvey can be in the NFL. This whole team is exciting and fun. Broncos football is back under Peyton. Amen, big dog. Amen. Todd, is it just me? Maybe I'm being a homer, but I think the Broncos are not ready to throw out all the young running backs. I mean, dude, Jaleel McLaughlin has his use. Audric Estime is still kind of untapped, but you have to wonder why the Sam Hill in the most important game of the season, the playoff game in Buffalo, the Broncos said, "Nah, we don't need you. You're not dressing today." What? This isn't 2025 Broncos where you got a Harvey and a Dobbins ahead of him. It was basically Javonte and Jaleel. And Estime was, they're like, "Yeah, we won't need you today." What is up with that? But guys, we know, we know. Did I already get this one? I got this one. We got him. We got the Lady D. But keep it up. Keep it up. Let's give her the props. Guys, Tyler Bidet is what he is. He's a former 6th-round pick of the Ravens from many years ago. Last year was the best shot he was ever going to get to be a real guy, and unfortunately got hurt at the penultimate worst time. Jaleel is a number 3. Best case for him is a number 2 somewhere, but he works really hard, and coaches love guys like that. And dude, he went and got a freaking jugs machine to put in his garage for the offseason so he could get better at receiving. I mean, that's the kind of guy coaches love, initiative, the extra mile. But we gotta keep in mind what he is. He's got some twitch and he's got some explosion in the same vein as Harvey, but just not quite as top shelf. Lady D again, love you so much. Thank you. Wilson history is behind us. He was more than paid. I'm still waiting for Allen and Benito. Yeah, that's true. So this is a second one. Holy smokes. Lady D, so grateful. Thank you, my friend. Kamara, my opinion, we don't need to spend the money. Hit like button, share, and subscribe. MHH for life. Yeah, thank goodness that Wilson history is in the books. I mean, the worst of it is this season will be the last of the worst of it, right? They spread that $85 million over 2 years, 50 some odd last year, 30 something this year. There will still be some minute ramifications on the dead cap from Russ in 2026, but not anywhere at a level that it is now. Basically, there's $36 million that Denver's opponents can spend on players that they can't because of the Russell Wilson deal. And the only reason it's even being brought back into focus is because of this case. And again, you got guys like, what's his name? Mike Florio, PFT, saying that the arbiter of the case totally tanked it on behalf of the owners, and that people should be questioning that the owners did collude to keep guarantees down, blah, blah, blah. But the arbiter said it's not that there was no evidence, it's that there was no conclusive proof. So anyway, who cares? Wilson's gone. He's a blip on the Broncos history, and they are glad to see him playing elsewhere. Thank you again, Lady D. Love you so much. And yeah, by the way, you got to get the you got some unfinished business, right? You got to get Zach Allen figured out. You got to get Nick Benito figured out, as you mentioned there, Lady D. And also the small matter of Cortland Sutton. I think that in John Franklin Myers' case, they'll probably let him play out his contract year and then say adios because Savion Jones. Then again, thinking back to that relentless Eagles pass rush with 4 guys, maybe they won't, but I don't think they're going to extend him. I think they'll wait to see, best case, what his market looks like next offseason. George, what's up, bro? If we're going to get an older player like Kamara, I just as soon use our cap money. I'd say get Vaughn. Yeah, but you want to talk older, my brother. Vaughn's pushing 40 older. You know what I mean? He's getting up there. He's not actually pushing 40, but he's on the wrong side of 35. Yeah, dude, he's going to be he just turned 36. So he's entering his age 37 season. He's got maybe 1 or 2 more years tops left, but he'll still come back and probably retire as a Bronco when it's all said and done. But that's the position of strength for Denver, is the edge. So that's why Vaughn said publicly, whatever it was, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, that a return to Denver, hey, how great would it be, right? He even said that, yeah. And they're doing great things, the team, but it doesn't make sense. And the reason he said it doesn't make sense is you got Nick Benito, all pro. You got Jonathan Cooper, 10.5 sacks last year. You got investments in your 3rd-round pick, Jonah Ellis. You got a guy from last year that outkicked his coverage, and Dondrea Tillman Those two combined for 10 sacks. Plus, you went out and drafted Q Robinson. So no room at the end. No room at the end. Not to say that you wouldn't find a place for Von Miller if you had him, but at what cost? Yeah, this was cool. Bo Nix was in the Big Apple, I believe it was, for Zach Wilson's wedding. And I didn't know Ellinger went, though. Ellinger? I wasn't aware of that. But yeah, Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham definitely supporting their boy Zach Wilson, who they all became real tight last year in that Bronco quarterback room. And big congrats to Zach for getting himself a modest bag and then getting married, getting hitched this offseason. Two awesome developments. So Richie, I did that, dude, last night when this happened last night about clearing the cache and cookies and Chrome. I did that. Check the hardware acceleration settings. I don't know. Scott is an IT whiz, so I'm going to pick his brain after the stream, but I appreciate the insight. Yeah. So let me just see here, guys. I'm just going to wet my whistle while I check the chat, see what's on y'all's mind. Dylan, what's up, bro? He says, I'm rolling with Harvey. Saints can keep Alvin Kamara. I mean, the way Scott presents it, like if they're really in full tank mode, and as a guy who covers the Falcons every day, he would probably know that better than I do. Maybe you can find a way to exploit that situation and get Kamara for the relative cheap, but I wouldn't want to go overspending. Like by the relative cheap, I don't just mean contract negotiating how much of the contract the Saints will pay, like Scott was talking about. I'm talking about also the actual compensation, like what you're giving the Saints in exchange for Kamara. I don't know, man. But it is encouraging. The one thing I'll say about Kamara is it was encouraging that last year, amid arguably his most unstable quarterback situation that he's played under, right, with Carr getting hurt, then playing a rookie, then just it was pretty bad at quarterback for most of the year. His rushing average climbed. That is cool. Glenn says, I really think we need to let John Franklin Myers play his contract out and then move on. Take the compensation. I'd prefer to have Vaughn in 2026 on a 1-year deal. He can work with the young guys. He's great on package-specific action. I mean, you never say never, but I'm telling you guys, Vaughn is not coming back to play football. For what it's worth, it's not going to happen. I've been wrong before, though. But the reason I say it's not going to happen is just listening to what he said. Quote, it doesn't make sense. That's what he said. So, okay. Let me get to some other interesting stories. So Patrick Surtain, PS2, held a youth football camp over the weekend. Really cool. On a orange and blue field at that. 300 kids in attendance. He had a couple of his pals from the secondary there helping him out, and took a few minutes to chat. And he had a few interesting things to say about, let me get this set up here. First off, Zadeh Barron. This is what Surtain said about the rookie. Not the first time he's spoken on the subject, but this is after the entirety of the Broncos offseason training program is in the books, right? So here's what he said, that he's catching on, quote, he's catching on really well. Obviously at Texas, he was a smart, savvy player that understood the game very well. That will translate well to our defense. I'm excited for him, close quote. So PS2 is really excited for him, and he understands also that, look, we're now an accomplished defense. We're being projected around media spheres as the top defense in the NFL this year. So what about those expectations? Here's what he said, quote, on Barron, that is, it could be difficult, but that's the expectations we set on him. That's the bar we set on him because obviously he's a good player. He's going to do a lot of work for us. At the end of the day, it's all about, I guess, him learning all those positions because he's able to do that as well, close quote. So that's kind of interesting. All those positions. What are we talking about here? Nickel and bound.
All right, it says Chad's in the stream with audio only, and he's bouncing in and out. We'll see if we can't keep things going here for just a little bit. We might have to cut it just a little bit short. In case you do not remember me, I'm Scott Kennedy. I'm usually in the background. Did Broncos for breakfast with Nick Kendall for a long time, and I want to say hello to Michaela Parker, who is coming in with a super chat, trying to keep things going. When they say keep the lights on, well, we got to keep that hamster wheel spinning to keep the internet going. Evidently, it's not working so great over at Casa Jensen over there. But Michaela says, why haven't we signed Barron yet? Concern? And then it repeats. So I don't know if you're using voice to text on that or not, but why haven't we signed Barron yet? I don't think there's much of a concern. He's been at everything so far. You know, he's attended everything. I don't think there's any kind of animosity. I don't remember hearing that he hadn't signed. So therefore, it's telling you that there's no animosity there. The one problem you're having right now in the first round is the guy that doesn't sack anybody, but looks like Tarzan and, you know, doesn't sack anybody. I've already flushed these guys, Chad. The Texas A&M edge rusher who averages 1.5 sacks a season.
Yeah, dude.
I just read Nick Scourton. I was like, that's not him. That was his teammate, and I've already forgotten his name. Like I said, it's hard to make long-term memories when you break 50 years old.
Hold on. It's my mind wasn't so like.
I know exactly. He was the one I absolutely did not want.
I know.
But he went to
Shamar
the Bengals.
Shamar Stewart.
Yeah, Shamar. Yeah, really good. But what's interesting though, if you've been watching this at all, that nobody's really talking about, Chad, only like 2 second-round picks out of 32 have signed.
Yeah.
So it's the second-round picks that are getting hung up on guaranteed contract language, not the first-rounder. So most of the first-rounders have signed. The only real contentious one I've seen, and this doesn't really even happen anymore. So I blame the Bengals on this, not Stewart, is the way they're doing things. I don't think it's going to be any problem. Barron's been in and out of, has attended everything he's been asked to attend. I didn't even realize he hadn't signed, because the only story out there right now,
him and Harvey,
is Shamar Stewart. So thank you, Michaela. But no, I wouldn't be concerned at all on that one. Hasn't been any problem with the Penner Group signing players. That has not been a problem at all.
Well, plus, Stewart made it a much bigger deal by walking out on going to OTAs and then leaving mandatory minicamp. And so he turned it into kind of a circus. But yeah, the Broncos are still waiting to sign their first and second round pick. But both of them, guys, we know it's going to get done. But it's really cool and encouraging to see that they both played through the summer, signed waivers, participated, didn't hold back at all. Even without a deal, that takes some cojones. Deanna Henry
on that. The old Lloyd's of London insurance people used to do stuff like that. You can get insurance. I'm gonna take out $100 million insurance policy for $5,000.
Yeah, and
that's a decent investment. So they're covered. They're covered in that type of thing. But Deanna with the hat trick tonight. This is number 3. Deanna, when Chad was like, "Well, we already got this one," I'm sitting in the background like, "This is number 2. This is the second one."
Right. Well, she mentioned it's because I saw Benito and Allen, and so I thought it was the same one, but nevertheless, thank you so much, Lady D. And guys, that's a euphemism, right? I'm like, keep the lights on. Something's going on with my browser. I got to figure that out. Scott will help me when we're done with this, but
we gotta get some hamster feed to get that internet hamster wheel spinning that you got going at your place.
I don't know what it is, dude.
So we're running out of kibble for the hamster wheel.
My internet's good. It's something with Chrome. Something Chrome's doing. It was every time I would open up an extra tab, then it would do that thing. It would crash.
I don't know what to tell you right now.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
We're not going to troubleshoot it here, but says, "Hey, Chad, need some help to keep the lights to stay on." Hey, Scott. Hey, Deanna. How are you doing?
We're making it way too literal now.
Exactly.
But
I don't even have my lights on. Actually, my big.
Well, yeah, you weren't expecting to have to go on camera tonight.
I know this is actually a really red shirt, believe it or not. Not quite as red as yours, but no, I wasn't planning on being here, but it gives me a chance to say hello and thank you to all the supporters.
Plus, Scott's rocking the old school scout hat. Real quick, does anybody recognize that name, Scout, and that logo? I'm just curious if you guys understand and know what that is. If you know, you think that I don't want to torpedo the chat by talking about Chrome and updates. I'll figure it out, but I was hoping it was just that Thursday night was just an outlier, just some weird stuff going on, but apparently not.
So, Chad, check this out. The old scout. I dug this out for a reason. My son just joined a new baseball team, and they are called USA Scout.
Nice.
So, his jersey. I'm like, this was kind of always meant to be, wasn't it? When you put this out there, I'm like, this was kind of meant to be, right?
Scout, dude. If anyone knows the Scott Kennedy history, then most definitely.
Yeah, I'm like the Scout Kennedy. I was director of scouting at Scout for about a decade and worked there for 16 years, and now he's at USA Scout. So that's one I can get behind. I didn't have to buy any new swag. I already had some Scout stuff for him. Anyway,
that's awesome, dude.
I'm out of here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna sign
thanks,
off.
bro. Thanks,
and
bro.
Chad blurts out on us again. We're gonna call that one a good night and a goodbye.
Yeah, we'll just call it. I mean, it's June 29th. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not going to open up another tab, and I think I'll be okay, which sucks because I'd like to do that for your guys' benefit, to like read the articles and the stories. And normally, as you know, I want to do the scratch and sniff, but it's not in the cards. So I'm just going to keep it small tonight in terms of not clicking on too much stuff, and it'll be all right. But how fun is it to see Scott? It's been a while, right? It's probably been, I don't know how long it's been since you guys have seen him, but a month at least, a couple more. I guess you filled in for me not too long ago, but it's been a minute still. Phil wants to know how this tournament went, though, Scott. So you're leaving him guessing. No, you did one with Zach. I thought, didn't you do one with Zach while I was like gone somewhere? I think maybe doing something bridge the gap. I don't remember for sure. Okay, but all honesty, guys, I'll probably keep it pretty tight. So I was reading. That's what I was doing. I was reading the Za'Dar Barron thing. It's interesting that he talks about how he can play so many different positions, or that he's learning so many different positions. When Sean Payton was like, yeah, the vision for Barron is clear. He's a corner for us. We're not playing him at safety. So that limits him to boundary and slot, nickel. So that's just kind of interesting. But a lot of belief and expectation. With great talent comes great responsibility. The Broncos are expecting a lot of Za'Dar Barron, his teammates, I'm saying. All right, let me find this. No, that's old. Hold on. I'm finding this other thing there we go, that PS2 said about Bo Nix. This is his kind of forecast. I'm reading it from my phone, guys, because I don't want to open up a tab. His forecast of Bo Nix. This is what he said at his camp. Quote, "It's definitely about building off what he did last year, but obviously going into his second year, he's feeling more and more confident. He was even confident as heck his rookie year, but he's going to carry on that confidence and that composure going into year two. So I'm very excited for him and what he's able to do for our offense." Aside from, praising his confidence and composure, that's the kind of quote that rings out to me as a guy going, am I really getting asked this again? I'm kind of like tired of talking about this. Like, yeah, Bo's good, guys. We're good. You don't have to ask me about him every time you see me. Thank you, Ronk. So good to see you, bro. It's not an MHH pod if you're not in the house. And it's not fully an MHH pod when Zach's not in the house with us either, as we know. But he will be back. Don't worry. He will be back. Michael, are the Broncos planning to wear their road throwbacks or white helmets on the road this season? Sick look, in my opinion. No. I don't think so. Anytime they do the old school D helmet like this and whatever color combination, they save that for the home fans usually. We don't know for sure yet that I'm aware. I would have written it up already as an article at MHH, but we're not aware yet what jersey combinations are being worn in which games quite yet. So as soon as we do know something about that, we will definitely bring it to your attention, though. Trust on that. Mike's very confident that training camp will get a deal done for Cortland Sutton and Zach Allen. We shall see. Allen will get done pretty soon. I think that's the order. I think that is the Allen first, then Sutton, and then Benito. I think you'll see Benito probably get his contract a little bit into the season. Like they maybe want to make sure that it wasn't a fluke last year. Ace, I don't know you, Ace, but welcome to the conversation, big dog. Broncos for life, indeed. Who has the higher upside, Savion Jones or Iome Uwazurike? Jones for sure. Uwazurike could still be something. This is his last-ditch effort, 2025, to prove that he can be a decent 3-4 defensive end, and not just decent. He's already shown to be decent, but like a guy who can make an impact, a guy who can influence the game. Jones has some of that twitch and that pop that Uwazurike just doesn't. Uwazurike, he's been a D-line hand in the dirt guy his whole life. I would open up his stats and look at his weight and all that, but I'm not going to risk it tonight. But you got to remember, Jones was a edge rusher for most of his time at LSU, and the Broncos, you're going to see him a lot as a rookie in obvious passing situations, and he's the guy that replaces JFM next year, probably, maybe even sooner, depending on how they look in training camp. Yeah, Scott's a profesh. Scott's a profesh. I've actually known Scott for 11 or 12 years, but we didn't really get to know each other till 2019-ish. Wasn't it 2019 when I left CBS and came to the Maven SI thing? Yeah, so he's a legend in recruiting, Scott Kennedy. I mean, that dude, one of the reasons when Scott gets talking about, and this is why for me it was fun as hell to go to the Senior Bowl beyond the obvious, right? Seeing it all and all this stuff. That's always fun. But sitting with Scott, he's still got that scout's eye. He was the recruiting guy at Scout. Scout used to be Scout predates Rivals. Scout was a rival. Scout was huge, especially in recruiting college football. So when you get Scott out there breaking down players, pro string, he sees a lot of the things he read, while we're watching the practices at the Senior Bowl, like this guy this guy that, the guys that are jumping out. Fast forward to the draft, sure enough, those are the guys that are hearing their name called early and often. So anyway, yeah, he's a pro though. He's a pro. Done TV, done a lot of stuff. Okay, guys. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss anybody here. It is a fair point, Todd, on the Kamara, to rewind the subject here. The other point, if you bring in Kamara, you'd be taking snaps from Harvey. Why do that when you want the guy getting as much game experience as possible leading to the playoffs? Yeah. I don't think it's going to happen, guys. I think it's very much it's very much just off-season fodder that a guy by the name. It's like me when I was telling you, I was trying to think up a topic for an article, and so I was reading through and I found this J.K. Dobbins stat that I wasn't aware of. So if I wasn't aware of it, maybe millions of readers are not aware of it, and I wrote it up. So that's a guy brainstorming, looking for things to write about this time of year because nothing is happening. Same thing with Cody Benjamin and connecting Alvin Kamara and the Broncos. That's exactly the same thing. There's nothing there. All right. So doesn't mean there couldn't be, doesn't mean the Saints, like Scott was saying, want to burn it down and rebuild it all. Eric Flynn, what's up, buddy? But I don't see it happening. They missed their chance. They had the Broncos, probably would have been willing to give up a little something last year. But now that they have Harvey and Dobbins, they'll listen, they'll talk. They would be interested in Kamara, but all of the things would have to line up perfect. Okay, guys, I think tonight I'm going to dip on out of here. This is a fun conversation, but as each second goes by, I keep worrying that I'm just going to wink out on you guys, and I hate that. So I'm going to figure out what the Sam Hill is going on with my Chrome browser, because on one hand, I could just go, well, I'll just do the show from Firefox. No, for some reason, Firefox's integration with StreamYard isn't as good. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, Scott, but their share screen function doesn't work the same. Like you can't just share a tab. You can either share full screen or anyway, it was pissing me off last night or Thursday night when I was trying to figure it out. So I don't want to use Firefox. I got to figure out Chrome. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. A mile high salute, a special shout out to the great Super Chat superstars and supporters who were going off tonight, especially the ladies of MHH, Michaela Parker, Deanna Hendry. Love you two so much, and you know that. Can't wait to see you both on October 19th, the meet and greet, week 7, Broncos Giants. Also, Taylor Christensen. Thank you, buddy. The Ronk, Ralph Bracegirdle, the Papa Bear David McElrath, who could still use our prayers. Howie frickin' Day in the frickin' house. George Fox, Phil McLaughlin, Tucson Phil, and Eric Flint. I think I got everybody. But yeah, guys, I believe Zach is back. I'll check in with him for sure tonight, but I'm pretty sure Zach's back tomorrow. So it should be back to a return of normalcy then. And, you know, tomorrow's the 30th. From there, we're 19 days away from the Broncos rookies reporting for training camp. And we're basically 3 weeks out from that, we're 4 weeks out. We're 4 weeks out from training camp really beginning in earnest. So, and I hope you guys read the article. Like the second we got the information from the Broncos, we sent out an article showing how to get the free tickets. They're limiting each practice this year, which are open to fans once again, but they're limiting them to only 800 attendees per practice because all the renovations that are still going on there for fan safety. So if you weren't able, they're free tickets, but if you weren't able to get your hands on them, they were gone after day one, like spoken for, gone. So anyway, Todd, retirement starts tomorrow. Stoked for you, big dog. Chrome is often the only browser that works on many sites. I don't know. I'm going to figure it out, but sorry to do that to you guys. 2 streams in a row. And it's especially harsh and a bummer when it's solo streams. You know what I'm saying? Like, but bless your hearts. You hang in there. Scott, you should have seen it the first night, dude, real quick. And then I'm out of here. The first night this started happening. It happened like 3 times. It was early in the show, dude. I didn't want to just stop the show. And, I'm sure there's a few people that were like, what the Sam Hill's going on? X out, they're gone. But like most everybody hung tough, and I'd be gone for like 5-10 seconds. I'd be back. And then the last time I was gone for like maybe upwards of a minute because I was trying to figure out Firefox and make it allow my camera to work and all this stuff. So bless your hearts, rolling with the punches with me on that. Appreciate you guys. That's right, 16th. So it is 2 weeks and 3 weeks. Yeah, buddy. All right, guys. For Zach Kelberman, I'm Chad Jensen. I love you. I appreciate you. Connect on Twitter at the MHH Pod, at Mile High Huddle, or X, I guess it's called now, right? Go to mhhmerch.com, grab a hat, grab a t-shirt. But also follow us on Instagram. Lots of stuff happening there at mile_high_huddle. And Apple Podcasts, Spotify, leave us a 5-star review. Helps us out big time. And subscribe, like, and share. Y'all know the drill. Love you. See you tomorrow night. For Zach, for Scott, I'm Chad. See you tomorrow.